tempo to any sample is equally understood. Go out and try your luck, you may be Donald Duck. Hooray for Hollywood.
Hang on, did you actually stop it? Pause it, we can pick back up.
No, God damn it. You know what's funny about that? I started recording again, and the music immediately started to play. But there's no music now, and we're recording. Do you want to just start over?
Nah, let's just roll with it.
Okay.
Nobody can. I mean, come on. We're not, quality is not what people come here for in terms of production values.
All right. Well, you're on, sir.
Sorry for that, everybody, but, if there wasn't at least one major technical glitch a month, you wouldn't be listening to the Radulich Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert Winfrey, and this is Damn You Hollywood.
The Radulich Broadcasting Network. We make radio seem like any fuck can do it.
Well, last I checked, that is an accurate descriptor of the medium at this point in time.
Go on.
Tonight we will be reviewing Skyscraper, The Rock's third movie this year. Or second. One of the two.
Second.
Okay, his second of the year, his third of the last, I think, 16 months.
Hang on, let me bring up his wiki.
Because Jumanji was, near winter of last year?
December.
Yeah, so of the last 16 months, he had 3 movies, which is about what he does on average.
He had 2 this year. He had Rampage in April, then Skyscraper in July, Jumanji in December, Baywatch in May, Fate of the Furious in April, and then nothing between apparently 2017 and 2004. No, wait, he had Moana and Central. These aren't in order. God damn it.
All right, here's my thing about The Rock's schedule. I mean, he does a lot of work, which I appreciate. He works hard, which I also appreciate, but out of every 3 movies he does, there's one that's moderately successful, there's one that's a smash hit, and one that's a flop. And it's pretty reliably in that, again, not necessarily in that order, but you can find but any 3 set, once he's hit all 3, that resets. So the last one, it was Central Intelligence, moderately successful.
Hang on.
Fate of the Furious, Blockbuster, Baywatch.
Hang on. Let's start with 2015. In 2015, he was in Furious 7, success.
Smash hit.
San Andreas, reasonable success.
Moderate success.
Gem and the Holograms.
Flop.
Central Intelligence.
Moderate success.
Moana.
I'm not sure I'd count that, but success.
Why? Just because it's an animated movie, he's in it.
Because it's a Disney movie. Like, the people involved in Disney movies get no credit for their success or failure.
In 2017, The Fate of the Furious.
Yeah, box office success.
Baywatch.
Yeah, big success. Baywatch was a flop.
Jumanji.
Big success.
And in 2018, he had 2 movies, Rampage and Skyscraper.
Moderate success and flop.
All right.
You see the pattern?
I do.
It's pretty reliable to this point in time, too. So, anyway, that was my thought there. So, again, tonight we're reviewing Skyscraper, which is lined up to be basically a flop. I imagine it will wind up being, God, it's so bad so far, but there's so many marks it hasn't opened, and it'll probably be very, very mildly successful, but on the whole will be considered a bomb. I imagine it'll end up worldwide somewhere in the 200 million mark, which will be, again, technically successful, but not really. So,
it's not what you're looking for when you're looking for a Rock movie.
Let's see the third one in that. Again, you follow the pattern, so you got to know which ones he's signed on for, which is going to be which, and know where you fall in the Rock cycle. It's important to know anyone doing business with him in the future. I mean, he just topped Forbes' list of most paid celebrities for this year, and he's like the highest paid celebrity since they've started doing that list historically, because he just works so much. Anyway, with that out of the way, Mark, how you doing? Get this out of the way rather quickly.
I'm fine. I'm ready to tackle Skyscraper. Let's I'm very excited of it. Let's get this shit over with.
All right. So here's your warning about spoilers, although this movie was spoiled in 1988 with the release of a little movie called Die Hard.
I don't even think it's fair to compare them other than they both take place in a skyscraper.
No, it's a very fair comparison because that's very clearly what the writer was ripping off. No,
I get that, but
if you're going to rip something off that blatantly, you're going to get compared to it. Deal with it.
All right. I'm more making a comment on how much worse Skyscraper is than Die Hard and how.
Oh yes. Yes.
I mean, let's put it this way: if you're going to compare Skyscraper to Die Hard, Skyscraper is like an autistic kid's and like an autistic 10-year-old's attempt to write a Die Hard movie.
Considering this particular director, that is a fair assessment and a moderate insult to autistic children.
All right, move on.
All right. So we open this movie with our introduction to The Rock's character, Will Sawyer, who is the manliest of men, and gets his leg blown off in a hostage situation that goes south, but because of it, he meets his wife, they have kids. He's ready to move on with his life, starts a security consulting company, gets hired on to do an assessment for the new tallest building in the world. It's big, you see. Big. As he is providing his assessment of the structure, the evil plot by the mercenary, I want to be Hans Gruber, but because I failed so miserably at this, I don't ever want to be compared to him. Character of Kors Botha shows up to do something. It's not made clear for quite some time, which is one of my major gripes with the writing. He shows up. They try to utilize the fact that Dwayne Johnson now has security access to this building to shut down various safety procedures. They start a fire that then burns out of control. The Rock's not actually in the building at this point in time. His buddy turns on him because, look, the actor they hired for that role, you look at that guy and you just know what's coming. You know he's going to double-cross you. He walked on screen, and I looked at my brother and I said, yeah, turncoat. Where was I? He was out. Okay, so he makes a run for the building. Along the way, his access is co-opted by the evil bad guys who enact their evil plan. He climbs a super tall crane, jumps into the building because he is The Rock, goes to save his family who are stuck in the now burning out of control building, saves part of it, saves about half of them. His daughter gets abducted by the evil terrorist who it turns out is after information that the billionaire who has built this structure has, God, this is so stupid. The billionaire in question paid off this terrorist, hitman, whatever, to not interfere with his building of the structure. The guy extorted him. But he transferred all of his money to him electronically and then attached some kind of tracking software so he now has access and information on every major crime syndicate and family that has used this guy's services because he's now, through the magic of malware, been able to access the totality of their computer networks. I say that facetiously, but that's kind of actually how that would theoretically work. So he's here to get that back because then he can duplicate the procedure, reverse engineer the process, wipe it. Think of him like a half-assed physical version of Norton. So in the end, it all works out in the end. The Rock defeats the bad guys, murders them. Well, not that I blame him. The information goes to the authorities, and all is right with the world. Okay, this is very clearly a Die Hard ripoff. Let's all not mince. There's no point even loosely belaboring this point.
Well, I was going to say I think more to the heart of the picture. It's more of a ripoff, and this comes right out of the wiki. I'll just read the sentence here. The film received mixed reviews from critics who praised Johnson's performance, but criticized the cliched script for being too similar to the towering Inferno.
That too. And in fairness, When The Rock was promoting this, he said this is very deliberately an homage to Die Hard and the Towering Inferno. So at least they acknowledge their near plagiarism. So credit for that.
Yeah. All right. Let me just say this. This is one of those movies where
real quick, good, bad, and ugly from you.
Okay. This is one of those movies where once again I do a movie review podcast because I want to, and I like to see all the summer blockbusters. And I tend to add more movies to the schedule that I wouldn't necessarily would have gone to see to bump up the how often we do this show. I like to do it more often than not, but sometimes it just isn't anything in the theater worth seeing that goes to the rubric of the show. So that being said, I would not have seen Skyscraper if we didn't have a podcast where we review blockbusters. I had no interest in this movie. I like The Rock and everything, but I don't have to go see all of his movies. I don't need to see them that badly. But to the theater I went. I actually saw it on a Thursday, and I mean, it's okay. Here's the thing. It's very thin. It's a very thin plot. Most of the characters are stock. There's nothing to them. Last week, all right, let me say this, and I wanted to make sure I got into this because of how last week's show went. And because I'm referring to our review of Ant-Man and the Wasp. You used the phrase, it's a nothing movie, and I really got upset by that. I mean, it's one thing to have your own opinion. I think it's another thing to overly criticize something unfairly, which I thought you were doing. Because my definition of a nothing movie is, and I've jokingly referred to this movie as the Dwayne Johnson Chinese stunt spectacular. This is a nothing movie. There's nothing going on in this movie. There are no relationships, save the very stock husband and wife one between Johnson and Neve Campbell. There's, and to a lesser degree, the brother and sister. There's no deeper meaning here. I mean, this doesn't even have a message that it's trying to get across. It has no agenda. Death Wish at least had an agenda. Stupid or otherwise, it had a point. This has no point. I'm actually surprised it's not doing better in foreign markets, and maybe it's a little too early to tell, but I'm surprised it didn't do better elsewhere, because there's barely any dialogue in it. This movie was made for foreign audiences. This was made for translation, because there's nothing...
Well, it doesn't... In fairness, it's not released in China until July 20th.
Oh, I thought it was already released in China.
No.
Okay. Well, then we'll see how much better it does, because this feels like a World of Warcraft type of thing, where it's going to do gangbusters everywhere else and nothing in the United States. Even for a Dwayne Johnson action movie, this borders on lame. And giving a guy half a leg isn't really an adequate substitution for a personality or motivation or anything else that fleshes out a character. I mean, yeah, he wants to save his family from the building being on fire. Wouldn't most of us? That again, it was like...
I got at least one brother I probably wouldn't jump off of a super crane to save. I'm just saying.
But that's the thing. It's like they sat, instead of writing a script, they sat down with a legal pad and just wrote, here's a list of things that might motivate somebody to jump off a construction crane. And they were like, okay, take that list and make a movie out of it. And that's what this was. This was 90 minutes, barely 90 minutes, 102 minutes. Most of that had to have been the credits. Of Dwayne Johnson jumping off shit. And then on occasion, Neve Campbell jumping off of shit. That's it. That's the whole fucking movie. There's a sequence in this movie that's so long, and it's not that it was boring by any stretch of the imagination. it's visually, it's interesting, and and even if you can suspend your disbelief, you might actually be convinced that the guy's actually in peril. He's crawling along the side of the building, and he has to jump between these two wind turbines in order to turn a panel off, in order to get into the penthouse where the person who's building the building is hiding. And it's fine. But it goes on forever, and that's kind of the whole movie. It's set piece after set piece after set piece of action stunts, loosely knitted together by the thinnest of plots. That, to me, is a nothing movie. I don't want to rehash Ant-Man and the Wasp. Go back and hear my arguments for what fleshes that movie out, what thickens it up, why I believe there's more to it than was being given credit to.
I'll summarize Mark's position on Ant-Man and the Wasp versus this one. Ant-Man and the Wasp had Paul Rudd, and Paul Rudd is affable.
Stop. I'm in no mood.
I mean, look, again, that's a gross summarization, but I think it's not horribly inaccurate because your argument in Ant-Man and the Wasp is the interactions between the characters are what make that movie, and I don't necessarily disagree with that point. But I think in large element that comes down to Paul Rudd being an affable everyman.
All right, I guess I see your point, though. I think you're
and again, we don't want to get into the whole
you're
thing.
Becoming you're dangerously close to morphing into condescending Winfrey again, and I get bristly when you do that.
My apologies. I did not mean to be condescending about that. I just meant, to my estimation.
Yes, Paul.
Never mind. We don't want to go
I will rephrase your rephrase. Paul Rudd is sort of a stand-in for all of us everyday schmoes, and so what makes that movie a little bit more appealing, in my opinion, is that we can all identify with him. I don't identify with this character. It's action hero doing action hero stuff to save his family, quote unquote, and that's fine. It's an entertaining 102 minutes, but I use this phrase a lot, and maybe I overuse it, but to me, this was just action pornography. It was a bit of dialogue that connects. You only went there to see the action scenes. You didn't go there to see anyone's acting chops. Okay? You didn't go there to see, these dynamic relationships. There was no message. There's no agenda that might draw you into theater. You went to see The Rock fight a building that's on fire. And he does, and it's a thing, and it happened. And if you're asking me, well, geez, aren't you the positive one? What's there left for Winfrey to say? Here's some positive things. It was nice that Neve Campbell got work. Good for her. The kids aren't terrible. And the action does look competently done. If the action is the star of this movie, the star shines brightly. Other than that, it's action pornography, and it was instantly forgettable.
I don't disagree with a whole lot of that. I agree that the action looked good. There's two things that I liked about this. I kind of liked the score, actually, which I like about a lot of movies that we see, but I don't always necessarily have the time to get to and discuss. But I liked the score. Again, there's a few of the action scenes that drag. Again, Mark brought up the getting behind the wind turbines. Yeah, that drags. The other thing I wanted to talk about in this, I don't know who I should give credit to for this particular thing, and this might sound weird, but they wrote an action hero with one leg instead of a one-legged action hero. And that sounds weird, I know, and it's kind of a linguistic manipulation, but there's a difference between, again, for those of you who are MMA fans, the fighter Nick Newell refers to himself all the time as a fighter with one hand, not a one-handed fighter. It's the same kind of thing here. They don't dwell on his lost leg they don't overly dramatize it. There's not a lot of, moaning and weeping about it. There's not a lot of glorification of it. They just wrote this action hero doing action things, and he just happens to only have one leg instead of two legs. And yeah, there's a couple of gimmicky parts. I mean, if you can ever find a prosthetic that can actually jam the closing of security doors, I mean, I don't know what it's made of, but whoever made that for you did you a solid, because that should in no way, shape, form, or fashion actually hold up to that kind of pressure. But, and so, again, there were some minorly gimmicky moments, but not a whole lot. And I appreciated the fact that they didn't try to turn this into a, this is somewhat ironic considering how shallow other parts of the movie are, but I appreciate that they didn't try to turn this into a message movie. About the power of positivity or overcoming your disabilities or whatnot. No, the guy's just it's below the knee, but he has a partial amputee on his left leg, and he still is more than capable of kicking ass, and it doesn't factor into his character beyond the fact that it exists.
Can I partially debate you on this? Because
very briefly, yes.
Here's my issue with the one leg thing, and why I thought it was a little too gimmicky. Because I'm with you with most of what you said. They don't dwell on it, which is good. It's just a part of his life, and he has to sort of work around it. But it isn't necessarily the focus of the movie. I do feel like the one-legged thing came in the third or fourth draft of this script, and it was after a conversation of, well, we've got The Rock, we've got a guy who's built like Adonis, Hercules, literally Hercules in a previous movie, and there comes a point where the stunt that we're putting him in order to make sufficiently high enough hurdles becomes so stupid and so unrealistic, it takes people out of the movie, and this becomes a parody of an action film. It becomes Hot Shots. And so I feel like
I do need a new, and I now need Hot Shots Part 3 starring The Rock, mind you. Now that you've put that out there. Sure. That does have to be a thing.
So I feel like they were like, okay, well then let's, I'm like they had written a script and the stunts got progressively stupid, and they were like, and someone looked at this and goes, I understand what you're doing here. You've got this guy who looks like he can take out the world, and we're writing things to make the hurdles high for him, because otherwise there isn't enough tension in the movie. He just looks like he can barrel through all this stuff and get to his family, and the movie's going to be 20 minutes long. And so so they're sitting around the writer's room, and they're like, what can we do to make him more vulnerable? Well, they can't come up with anything plot-wise that would have thickened the movie in any way, shape, or form. They're not that talented. So one guy literally pitches, why not give him one leg? And everyone jumped on it. Okay? Just thought that was the most brilliant thing ever. Like, yeah, one leg. And then they started reworking some of the stunts in some of the fight scenes so that they could utilize the one-legged thing. And wouldn't it be cool if he did this? And that's what it becomes. And so, yeah, the movie moves away. It's like a pendulum, The pendulum swings away from the one-legged thing, and then it's right back where it's the focus again, and then it swings away again, and then it's back. And it just feels like it was a substitute for trying to make this character any more interesting than he already was. And he's not interesting at all.
I don't disagree with you. I appreciate the way it was handled in that respect. I imagine you're correct about how they arrived at that. Or I'll give some credit to The Rock, because he does stuff like that. He got the script and said, well, why don't I just have one leg?
Yeah, either way.
And they went, great, that's a great idea. Give us a minute, we'll rework stuff. Because let's face it, there's not a lot here.
No, I honestly am not totally sold on the fact that this thing was written on paper. This script might have actually been a collection of index cards with stunts written on them.
It was a Polaroid. Boy, I'm dating myself there. It's a Polaroid of a storyboard, and that was the script.
Yeah. Literally, someone just walked in with a deck of index cards. Here's a bunch of stunts. Okay, you can't just make stunts, though. That's a theme park attraction. You need to write dialogue. And then they hired a porn writer. They were like, listen, in between writing Batman v Superman and Axel Braun parody. Could you write up some dialogue between The Rock and Neve Campbell approximating a married couple? And they're like, yeah, sure, it's about the same.
All right. Yeah, again, it's an instantly forgettable movie. The stunts are good for the most part.
Have you ever been asked how much porn I actually watch since I bring it up incessantly on the show?
I imagine you are a slightly above average consumer.
No. I'm asking if anyone's ever asked you. Like, anyone that's listened to the show that knows you, like he brings up porn a lot. Does he ever, like how much porn does he actually watch? Do you know? Nobody's asked you, huh? Okay.
No one's asked me.
Okay, moving on.
Well, look, I don't want to get into it. I'm not going. There's a couple of bad jokes in there that we'd both laugh at, but would probably just...
Let's just move on.
Yeah. That's a road best left untraveled at the moment.
Indeed.
Again, if you want to go see at least it's not long. It feels like it drags in places, but thankfully the movie isn't all that long. Just know what you're getting into with this. I imagine there will come a time when it will be great background noise while I'm doing other things. But other than that, nothing terribly to get behind here. The Rock will make jokes about it being a flop in 6 months when he's promoting his next big thing that will become a smash hit, because that's The Rock's cycle.
Next year, he's 2019. Well, he's got the new Jumanji. That's apparently supposed to be next Christmas. Christmas 2019. Hang on.
You got Hobbs and Shaw.
Yep, which you're making me review.
I am shocked you didn't have that on the schedule. I mean, it literally fits all the criteria for you.
It does, but it came out the same week as something else, and I wanted to do something else. Oh, so yeah, next year he's got Jumanji 2 and Jungle Cruise. So yeah, he'll have
so Hobbs and Shaw, Jungle Cruise, and Jumanji 2.
Yeah. You know what? Hobbs and Shaw is not actually listed in his filmography for next year. Someone needs to get on this Wikipedia page. Fix it.
Is it listed for 19 on the... I'm pretty sure it was listed on 19 as a release date, right? Not 20?
I believe you're right. Hobbs and Shaw. Yeah, 2019.
All right. Well, with that's all the critical stuff we have to say out of the way. Let's talk about the money and how much this isn't making.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money.
Dollar.
I didn't stop recording this time. All right.
Woohoo!
I know how to do a podcast, kinda. All right. On a budget of $125 million so far, this thing's made about half. 67, a little over half. Worldwide, it's at $67 million. I believe for the weekend, it was not number one. It was beat by the Adam Sandler animated third part of a trilogy, Hotel Transylvania 3 Summer Vacation, which came in domestically at $44 million. Ant-Man and the Wasp fell from 1 to 2 at $29 million. And just under that, it debuted at number 3 at $24 million. That's where Skyscraper is. Rounding out the top 10 for the weekend was The Incredibles 2, Jurassic World Haunted House, The First Purge, which I did not see because the pretty girl had her credit card hacked, and she said she couldn't make it to the movie. And I said, whatever, I'm moving on. Sorry to Bother You rose from 16 to 7. Sicario, Day of the Soldado, fell from 5 to 8. Uncle Drew, 6 to 9. Ocean's 8, 7 to 10. But Won't You Be My Neighbor? Nope, fell from 9 to 11. Rats. All right.
Still doing well for a documentary.
Indeed. And Solo, A Star Wars Story, fell from 13 to 20. Poor Star Wars.
No one cares.
Let's see. Worldwide, here's where we are right now. Here we go. Worldwide. You know who's still at the top? It's the Avengers at $2 billion. I can't imagine anyone else is going to beat that this year. Black Panther is still at number 2. Jurassic World still at number 3. The Incredibles has risen to $860 million. Deadpool 2 settling nicely in the $700 million at $731. And then we have a pretty large break between 5 and 6. Ready Player One's at $582. Operation
$150 million, give or take, between Deadpool 2 and Ready Player One.
Operation Red Sea's at $579. Detective Chinatown, $544. It's not all bad news for The Rock. Rampage is still sitting at $425 million at number 9. And still in the top 10. Still in the top 10. Still fighting, babe. Solo, a Star Wars story.
It's got another month in that spot at most.
Then we got 50 Shades Free, Monster Hunt 2, Peter Rabbit, A Quiet Place, Pacific Rim, Maze Runner, Ant-Man and the Wasp at number 17 with $287 million, Tomb Raider, Ocean's 8, and finally the number 20 movie in the world is Paddington 2, which apparently got rave reviews, believe it or not.
Yeah, so did the first one.
I haven't taken my kids to see either one because I have no interest in sitting through a Paddington movie. Okay.
I mean, I have nothing to say to that.
Next week, we've got The Equalizer 2 with Denzel Washington. Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, which I believe will be the number 1 movie in the world next weekend, just because, ABBA.
It'll be the number 1 musical comedy in the world, if nothing else.
And then we've got a new horror movie, Unfriended, Dark Web. I believe that's the sequel to the first Unfriended.
It is.
Is that how that goes?
It is, and it's going to be terrible. No one should watch it.
Well, so next week there'll be no Damn You Hollywood because I ain't seen any of those 3.
Go.
However, in 2 weeks we've got Mission Impossible Fallout, allegedly the best Mission Impossible so far. And for all of you with children,
I doubt that.
Or for those of you with children, or for those of you with a child in your heart, Teen Titans Go to the Movies, the animated movie.
Do you know how they've been promoting that?
How have they been promoting that?
Teen Titans Go to the Movies, because if Aquaman can get a movie, anyone can get a movie.
I was aware of that, and that's actually really funny.
It is. I laughed. I genuinely laughed. I have no interest in that property, but any dig at Aquaman is a win for me.
The only movie Robert wanted to review this year comes out August 3rd, and that's Disney's Christopher Robin. And then finally, we end our summer fling thing with The Meg, which there's rumors that this is going to turn into a franchise like Jaws, which comes out August 10th. To be fair,
there are like 5... Again, the most interesting thing to me about that property is its sad journey from book, a decent enough book, all things considered, to the film. And I mean, the rights to that movie were optioned the same year it was released, and it's just finally getting out. It's and there's like 4 or 5 books in the series, so there's more than enough material to make a franchise out of it. Mm-hmm. And if we get a just parody of Jaws, essentially, I'm okay with that.
I'm honestly hoping we get a modern retelling of Jaws 3.
With Michael Caine's magically drying shirt? Or was that Jaws 4?
I don't remember. I just know that I want a large aquatic animal to fuck up a theme park. Honestly, SeaWorld's struggling to make...
You just hate theme parks, man. You just want to see them destroyed.
No, I love theme parks, but seeing them run amok is fun on the big screen. I mean, think about, SeaWorld really needs to get involved with this. SeaWorld needs to rebrand itself as being a part of the movies, like Apple, right? Apple promotes its products by putting them in the movies. SeaWorld needs to get involved with some of these sea pictures where aquatic animals attack people. And be like,
there are still too many stupid people who thought Blackfish was legit.
But that's my point. They need to rebrand their image as SeaWorld, where we're not really killing any whales, right? And they do that
where the whales kill you.
That's right. By promoting themselves through major motion pictures, and people think, "Oh, look, SeaWorld can't be that bad." They were used as the setting in the Meg 5, The Search for More Money. So I think that's what needs to happen. I want to see a giant sea monster fight Shamu. That'd be fun for me. Just kind of a camera panning around. There's people slowly filling in the seats, and the guys come out, and there's the video of, "Hey, SeaWorld, we've been around for 100 years. We really haven't hurt anybody. We swear." That's an actual video. And then the whales come out, and suddenly, boom! A megalodon jumps into the thing, and Shamu fights back, and people run everywhere, and everything is wet.
Shamu would have no chance. Again, megalodons would eat things the size of larger than killer whales, actually.
For the purposes of this movie, Shamu has magic powers.
Shamu is a genetically modified.
Yeah.
So he's an orca the size of a meg.
That's right, and he pulls a gun.
No. Because if we're utilizing the SeaWorld brand, there can't be firearms.
Oh, okay. What about nunchucks?
No, that's too implausible. We need the step between the two.
Freeze ray.
No. Not the freeze ray, but the like a lightning gun.
There
like
we go.
A giant taser.
There we go.
Because he can breathe outside of water.
Yeah,
so he jumps out of the water and then electrocutes the pond that the Meg's in for the death blow.
All right, intern listening to this podcast, I hope you got all that. You've got.
We just gave Michael Bay at least one orgasm.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Bay just took out a wall in his house from his pants.
Yeah, you didn't need to elaborate there. It was fine enough originally.
All right, are you ready to move this on?
Yeah, we got about 15 minutes.
All right. Oh, sir.
Find me the worst. Bring me the critics.
Hey, Robert Winfrey, I've got a question for you.
I am ready.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
All right, let's see here. Meg Downey from Comic Book Resources. Skyscraper somehow manages to shoot for just about every beloved 80s action movie trope and miss them by miles, all while being somehow and against all odds completely and inexplicably boring.
No, I mean, look, again, it's a very tropey movie, but it does get the tropes. I mean, you have the big, muscly action hero, you have the family in peril, you have the burning building, you have the evil international terrorists that are vaguely European. I mean, what more do you want? That's all of them, pretty much.
Christopher Llewellyn-Reed of Film Festival Today. If you're going to rip off Die Hard, try making more with the jokes, especially if your main conceit collapses under the weight of contrivances.
That's kind of fair. I mean, again, just very briefly, because this is just a Die Hard wannabe, what makes Die Hard is not just the action, it's the relationships, it's the interactions, it's Bruce Willis trying to put his family back together and still screwing it up because he's because he's just kind of that way. It's his conversations with his buddy Al on the radio that to just fill a little bit of time, but not only fill time, give both characters a little bit of extra depth. Here, you need something, and sadly, I would have, again, like you mentioned, this becomes Hot Shots. I would have preferred that. I think, might have preferred if we just gone full parody with this.
I'd have laughed more, that's for certain. And speaking of laughs, Hannah Woodhead of Little White Lies. Not even Johnson can stoke the flames of this damp squib of a film.
See, I disagree with that because to the extent that this is successful, it's largely because of The Rock. I mean, the action that is successful would be successful basically with anyone doing it, but you can't pretend that he doesn't bring something to that type of role and to this type of production just by virtue of being who he is.
Matt Goldberg of Collider. We hate you, Matt Goldberg. We hate you. And
we really do.
And your stupid website. Skyscraper. And this is why you and I don't get invited to any of the parties. Skyscraper is the action movie at its most generic, but not at its most fun. It should be a movie that gives us larger-than-life action with a fanciful building and Johnson's charisma, but instead gives us neither.
Much as I hate the guy, I don't think he's wrong. I might argue that this is the most generic action, because, I mean, it's not Transformers, but it's up there on the generic scale. I mean, it's not Age of Extinction, which was painful, but...
Jesus Christ. Mara Reinstein of US Weekly, top critic. We hate you, Mara Reinstein. How are we supposed to be genuinely thrilled when it's glaringly obvious this Hong Kong tower was digitally inserted in a Hollywood editing room?
I don't know, the same way you care about giant transforming robots, the same way you care about blue aliens. I mean, come on. Sure, it's digitally inserted. What's your point? I mean, of all the complaints about this movie, that might be the dumbest. Like, that genuinely might be the dumbest. Like, how dare they not build a soundstage? I can't get invested in this because I'm so aware that this is not a real building in the world. Like, shut up.
All right. Alan Schurstel of The Village...
Why are we making stuff up about this movie to criticize? I mean, really? There's so much actually there. Why would you make something up?
Alan Schurstel of The Village Voice, top critic. I almost admire the laziness of the scripting. In this overworked, underpaid country of ours, message! Why begrudge a screenwriter seizing the chance to knock off early?
Because in this particular instance, the screenwriter is also the director, and he's been a hack for years. This is the same guy who wrote and directed Central Intelligence. This guy's not good. And I don't know. Message. This is the same guy that buys that moronic logic. The economy's good and unemployment is down because so many people have 2 jobs. Never mind that that's not how that works.
Jonathan Hickman of Daily Film Fix. Audiences will experience deja vu of the worst kind. Skyscraper is wholly unoriginal, even though Dwayne Johnson does his best with the ridiculous material.
That's fair.
Roger Moore of Movie Nation.
Oh, God.
Robert Winfrey's arch nemesis.
No, I don't give him that much credit.
Preposterous on an epic scale.
I'm going to call BS on that. I mean, this is not epically preposterous. It's kind of stupid, not well written, poorly thought out, but I don't even think this is the most preposterous, setup I've seen this year for an action movie.
All right, I'm going to read this one just because it backs up what I said earlier. I actually 100% agree with this, and I feel like people just need to understand. Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times, top critic. Skyscraper is the kind of movie you can watch on a flight without bothering to wear headphones. In fact, it might play better that way. He's not wrong.
No, he is not.
Let's see. Christian Toto of HollywoodInToto.com. You can only swallow so many insults to the laws of science and common sense.
Yes, Dude, welcome to the party. I've been here for 5.5 years.
That's funny.
No, I mean, after the first major set piece of this movie, I just had to go, okay, literally none of this is going to actually work that way.
You just threw in the towel early, huh?
Oh, no, I still counted, but I didn't keep track of my counting. I can't help but count. Okay, no, that doesn't work that way. These are powered by electromagnets. Then you're kind of screwed once the metal they're on rises above a certain temperature because magnetism actually deteriorates as the particles separate under heat. It's one of the ways you can, if you do blacksmithing, one of the ways you test for whether or not your metal's in a quenchable position is you try to stick a magnet to it. As it gets hotter, the magnetism becomes less and less. So, for example, if you're held to a pillar by electromagnets and the pillars are, on fire, yeah, they're not holding.
Adam Graham, Detroit News, top critic. All Skyscraper has going for it is a tall building.
That's unfair. It has The Rock. It has whatever value Neve Campbell brings. That's about it. There's decent set pieces.
Matt Brunson of Creative Loafing. We hates you, Matt Brunson. We hates you. I wouldn't go as far as to say I would watch Dwayne Johnson read a phone book, but an Archie comic or the back of a cereal box wouldn't be out of the question. As for watching him in something as generic as Skyscraper, that's a tougher call to make. Hurt.
Well, I imagine I can just imagine the smug smile as he typed that out. Oh, this is such a clever line. And no, I wouldn't pay to listen to The Rock read something. I like The Rock, but that's not... If you can't see The Rock, it kind of defeats the purpose of having The Rock in your movie. Unless you're doing something like Moana.
David Fear of Rolling Stone, top critic. This is the sort of thing that requires classic rock, capital R-O-C-K. Not an experimental, but what if I maybe acted like this was Sophie's Choice rock?
I'm not sure where he got that's how they took the direction they took this movie, but I understand the basic sentiment behind if you're going to do this, just do it classically and leave it alone.
All right, last one. Let's see. Let's find a good one here.
There are no good ones.
Armand White of National Review. Skyscraper can't be called escapism. That word implies leaving some state of reality and consciousness, whereas Skyscraper requires a willing immersion into nonsense.
Yeah, have you not noticed that? Have you? Okay, hang on. Much as I appreciate the point this moron's trying to make, how about we appreciate the fact that the top 3 movies worldwide right now, one of them involves a mystical African nation that has somehow escaped detection for the totality of human history utilizing advanced technology they developed somehow from alien materials and a rock that fell on them. A giant intergalactic battle featuring Grimace and magic rocks that let him wipe out half the universe.
God fucking damn you. If you're gonna make Thanos' Grimace jokes, wait for me to not be drinking. I almost snorted seltzer water through my nose. That would have hurt.
Almost. Next time. It features, Tito Ortiz as Grimace collecting magic rocks that give him the power to wipe out half the universe. And we have brought back dinosaurs through the power of genetic science, even though genetic science doesn't actually work this way. Clearly, we have already descended to a point societally where we engage in the willing suspension of disbelief to the point of utter nonsense. Let's not pretend that this is the first movie this year, or this decade, or the last 70 years that has requested that of its audience. That's just not reality.
You good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, folks,
Don, I almost got you.
Yep, I almost angry dragon myself. All right, folks. If you're thinking, well, I guess there's no Mark and Robert next week because there's no good movies to come out this weekend, you're wrong. We'll be departing from our normal script of Damn You Hollywood, and instead we're going to do a TV party tonight for Voltron Seasons 5 and 6. So we won't stop, we won't quit here on the Rattlegion Broadcasting Network. I'll be back from my trip to New York. And we'll be... yeah. And he and I will take on the last 2 seasons of Voltron, which, by the way, they just announced that the new season of Voltron, Season 7, will be out August 10th, so we should probably get caught up here with Seasons 5 and 6.
I'm already caught up, and I imagine Season 7 is almost going to be the last one.
Probably. And then we close out the month of July with our Damn You Hollywood review of Mission Impossible 6, Mission Impossible Fallout. Fall in.
How about the franchise just falls away?
Falls over. So that's it. If we're looking for other stuff here in the archives, last week we did 2 shows featuring Ant-Man. Source material looked at Second Chance Man, Ant-Man Volume 1 by Nick Spencer. Decidedly a much better volume of work than his current take on Spider-Man, which seems like it's Nick Spencer doing his best to do a Disney XD version of Spider-Man. And then, of course,
clearly what he was hired for.
And Robert and I reviewed Ant-Man and the Wasp, where much
we yelled at each other.
where much to my chagrin, in utter surprise, Robert Winfrey and I got into yet another sissy slap fight over a Marvel movie.
Happens every now and then.
There were big tings on the Metal Hammer of Doom,
Not
July 11th. Big tings, Robert Winfrey.
No, you know what? I can't take jokes about that right now. There's some rumors that Max Holloway's concussion might be serious enough to force his retirement, and he's one of the guys that I associate mispronouncing things as tings with, and that just hurts my heart at the moment. I can't do it.
Aw, what a ting. Anyway, we reviewed Skindred's Big Tings on the Metal Hammer of Doom, and a fun time was had by all. This week...
Except everyone who had to listen to the music.
Oh, fuck off. This Wednesday, Jesse Starcher will be with his lovely wife. So sitting in for him will be, from the Screaming Boy Not a Podcast because his computer's broke, Ronnie Adams. Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy Podcast will be helping me review Lords of Black, Icons of the New Days. There'll be no Metal Hammer review.
Really?
What?
That's going to be hilarious.
Have you heard the album? Have you heard of the band?
Oh, I seem to recall that I have. And just Ronnie mixing with that will be hilarious.
Well, they're a Spanish power metal band. It'll be fine. And believe me, it could be worse. It could have been like Goat Whore or something. Next week...
Oh, no, in this case, it's not his religious conviction. It's his horrible, horrible racism.
Okay.
Had to get one in. We'd gone almost the whole hour without a racist joke.
No, for more of that, go check out our review of Skindred's Big Tings. Anyway, on July 25th, there will be no Metal Hammer of Doom because I am a good husband and will be at Dave Matthews with my wife.
You are a good husband.
If there's any snipers out there, you have between now and the 25th to put one between my eyes. If you wait till after that, it'll be too late, and I'll have already suffered the equivalent of being shot in the face by going to see Dave Matthews. To which I say, fuck you white folks. All right.
It could be worse. Dave Matthews is not the worst thing you could see.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. Believe me, it is not.
I suppose I could see Mott the Hoople or Hootie and the Blowfish.
You could see One Republic.
Ugh. You're right. That is terrible. All right. And then finally,
as for me,
finally on August 1st, we rock out with our cocks out as we review the new Dee Snider solo album, For the Love of Metal. Now you can go.
Okay. You can find me Sundays hosting the 411 Ground and Pound radio show. Yeah, that's it. A couple of crappy fight nights to preview and review over the next week. Next week, actually, we get to preview UFC on Fox when the main event is the rematch between Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, and more violence will be had. I'm psyched. I'm psyched for that rematch.
Hey,
I thought Dustin got screwed.
Who won between Dos Santos and Drago?
Dos Santos, crappy decision. Terrible, terrible fight.
Glad I missed it.
Yes, you should be. Like all heavyweight fights, Mark, you just shouldn't watch them. They're all bad.
Well,
all of them.
I'm hoping Brock Lesnar does not make it into the cage against Dan Cormier.
No, he's going to make it in, and Cormier's going to suplex him onto his head and break something. Braun's going to try to run in, and Daniel's going to... I said this. If Braun tries to cash in on Brock during that fight, Cormier is going to hit that high crotch on Braun and lift him over his head and slam him.
You know
and
what?
It will be hilarious to watch a 5'8" Daniel Cormier slam that monster, but Daniel Cormier is a beast and can do it.
You know what's hilarious to me? If they actually would allow a wrestling angle in the middle of a UFC fight. Because I would love to see Dan Cormier actually like legitimately beat Brock Lesnar, and then have Braun Strowman come in, get these hands, and take the other title off Brock. That would be hilarious.
It'd be funnier because DC would then pin Strowman because DC's a huge wrestling mark. Like, he's happy to do that.
And then Bobby Lashley comes in, pulls a quad, trying to suplex somebody.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, Triple H...
Stop. We have to go. I really don't have time for the nonsense today.
Oh, but I was just about to say that Triple H pedigrees everybody.
And Kevin Nash tears a quad jerking off at home watching it. We know.
Got it. Now we're good.
All right.
And cut.
Thanks, everyone, for listening.
No, finish. I cut, cut scene.
Oh, okay. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll be back next week for TV Party. Until then, stay safe out there, and please continue to be well, be safe, and behave.